There is a kind of success that makes no noise. No one talks about it. No one celebrates it. No one notices it until it is already there. Quiet, stable, strong. Have you ever met someone who does not show off, does not speak much, but somehow their life feels solid, calm, in control, not rich in a loud way, but secure in a quiet way? That was not me. Not in my 20s, not even in my 30s. Back then, I thought success had to be visible. I believed if I earn more, I should show it. If I improve, people should see it. If I am doing well, it should look impressive. So I followed that thinking. I worked, I earned, and I spent. Not always on big things, but on visible things. Things that made me feel like I was moving forward. A better phone, a nicer place, small upgrades that made life look better. And for a while, it worked, at least on the outside. People saw progress. People said, "You're doing well." And I believed them. But inside, something was missing. Not happiness, not comfort, but stability. Real stability. Because no matter how much I improved my lifestyle, I never felt secure. There was always a quiet pressure, a silent question in my mind. What if something goes wrong? What if I lose this? What if I cannot continue like this? That question stayed with me, year after year, and I didn't understand why. I was doing what everyone else was doing, working, earning, living. So why did I feel uncertain? The answer came slowly, not in one moment, but through experience, through mistakes, through time. By the time I reached my 40s, I started to see things differently. Not because I became smarter, but because life showed me the truth. I saw people who earned a lot, but were always stressed. I saw people who looked successful, but had no real control over their money. And I also saw something else. People who lived quietly, simply, without attention, but they were strong, financially strong, not because they were lucky, but because of how they lived. That changed me. I stopped asking, how can I look successful? And I started asking, how can I become stable? That question led me to something unexpected. Not big strategies, not complex plans, but small habits. Very small habits. So small that no one notices them. So quiet that no one talks about them. But over time, these habits change everything. They build strength, slowly, silently, without pressure, without attention. And that is the difference. Loud success often disappears, but quiet discipline stays. In this story, I will share 5 silent habits that changed my financial life after 40. Not quickly, not dramatically, but deeply. These are not habits that make you look rich. They are habits that make you strong. Habits that give you control, clarity, peace of mind. And if you are listening right now, you don't need to wait until 40. You can start earlier or later. It doesn't matter. Because these habits are not about age, they are about awareness. And the first habit begins with something very simple, something most people ignore, something I ignored for many years until I realized it was quietly controlling everything. In the next part, I will show you what that habit is and why something so small can have such a powerful impact on your life. The first habit is something most people avoid, not because it is difficult, but because it is uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. It is this: paying attention to where your money really goes, not guessing, not estimating, not saying, I think I spend around this much, but knowing clearly, honestly, exactly. For many years, I did not do this. I told myself, I already know my expenses. I don't spend that much. I'm doing fine. And maybe, on the surface, that was true. But the truth is, I was not paying attention, not fully, because real awareness requires effort, it requires honesty. And sometimes, it shows things you don't want to see. One day, I decided to try nothing complicated, no perfect system, just a simple habit. Every time I spent money, I wrote it down. That's all. Small amounts, big amounts, everything. Coffee, food, transport, online purchases. Things I thought were not important. I wrote them all down. At first, it felt annoying, slow, unnecessary. But after a few days, something changed. I started to see patterns, small patterns, quiet patterns, but very clear. I saw how often I spent money without thinking, not because I needed something, but because it was easy, convenient, automatic. I also saw something surprising. It was not the big expenses that caused problems, it was the small ones, the daily habits, the repeated choices, things I never questioned before. And that was the moment I understood something important. You cannot control what you do not see. And before that, I was not seeing clearly. I was living on assumptions, not facts. That simple habit changed how I think, not overnight, but slowly. Because when you see the truth, you begin to act differently, naturally, without forcing yourself, without pressure. For example, I didn't suddenly stop spending, I didn't become strict, I didn't punish myself. I simply became aware, and awareness creates choice. Before, I spent automatically. Now, I paused, just for a second, and that second made a difference. Do I really need this? Is this worth it? Sometimes the answer was yes, and that was fine. But sometimes it was no. And for the first time, I listened to that answer. That is why this habit is powerful. Not because it saves money immediately, but because it changes your relationship with money from unconscious to conscious, from automatic to intentional. And once that change begins, everything else becomes easier. Saving becomes easier. Planning becomes clearer. Decisions become calmer. Because now you are not guessing. You are seeing clearly, honestly, and quietly. No one knows you are doing this. No one sees the effort. There is no attention, no praise. But inside, something is changing. Something strong is being built. That is why I call it a silent habit, because the results do not appear immediately. But over time, they become powerful, very powerful. If you want to try this habit, start simple. Don't wait for the perfect method. Don't wait for motivation. Just begin. Write down what you spend today. That's enough. Tomorrow, do it again, slowly, calmly, without judgment, because the goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness, and that is where real change begins. In the next part, I will share the second silent habit, a habit that looks even smaller, but helped me build real financial strength without stress, without pressure, and without anyone noticing. The second habit is even quieter, so quiet that it feels almost invisible. It does not require effort, it does not require discipline in the way you expect, and yet it changed everything for me. The habit is this: saving first, before you spend anything, not saving what is left, but saving first. This sounds simple, very simple, but for most of my life, I did the opposite. I spent first. I lived my life, paid my bills, bought what I needed and what I wanted. And at the end of the month, I looked at what was left. Sometimes there was something. Most of the time, there was nothing. And when there was nothing, I told myself, it's okay. I will save next month. But next month was the same, always the same. Because the problem was not my income, it was my system. Or more precisely, I had no system. I depended on willpower. And willpower is not reliable. It changes, it becomes weak, especially when you are tired, busy, or stressed. So one day, I changed one small thing, very small, but very important. When I received money, I immediately saved a part of it. Before I paid anything, before I spent anything, before I even thought about expenses, I moved that money away to a separate place, a different account, somewhere I would not touch easily. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like I had less money, like I was limiting myself. But something interesting happened. I adjusted, naturally, without forcing it. Because when you have less available, you become more careful, more thoughtful, more aware, not because you're trying harder, but because the structure guides you. That is the power of this habit. It removes the need for constant discipline because the decision is already made automatically, quietly, every time you receive money. And over time, something begins to grow, not fast, not dramatically, but steadily. Your savings. At first, it feels small, almost insignificant. But month after month, it builds, slowly, silently, and one day, you look at it and realize it is real. That is when something changes inside you. Not excitement, not pride, but calm, a quiet kind of confidence. Because now, you have something behind you, something supporting you, something that gives you space to breathe. And that feeling is powerful, very powerful. It is different from earning more money because earning more can disappear. But building this habit creates stability, long-term stability. And again, no one sees it, no one talks about it. There is no attention. But inside, you are becoming stronger, step by step, without pressure, without stress. If you want to start this habit, don't think about big numbers. Start small, very small, even 5%, even less. It doesn't matter. What matters is consistency, doing it every time, making it automatic, making it part of your life. Because once it becomes natural, you don't think about it anymore. It simply happens, quietly, like all strong habits. In the next part, I will share the third silent habit, a habit that helped me avoid mistakes before they even happened, a habit that protected my money without fear, without stress, and without needing to be perfect. The third habit does not look powerful. In fact, it looks slow. Too slow for most people, too simple, too careful, and that is exactly why. It works. The habit is this: waiting before making financial decisions, not reacting immediately, not buying instantly, not saying yes in the moment, but pausing just for a while. This was very difficult for me because before, I acted fast. If I liked something, I bought it. If I saw an opportunity, I said yes. If something felt right, I trusted that feeling immediately. And sometimes it worked, but many times it didn't. Because feelings change. Excitement fades, urgency disappears, and what feels right in one moment can feel unnecessary later. I learned this the hard way, through small mistakes, repeated many times, buying things I didn't need, spending money on ideas that I didn't continue, saying yes to things that didn't truly help me. Nothing dramatic, nothing big. But slowly, it added up, and that is the danger. Not one big mistake, but many small ones. So I changed something simple. Before any non essential decision, I waited. Sometimes one day, sometimes a few days, sometimes longer. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like I was missing out, like I might lose something, a good deal, and an opportunity, a moment. But something interesting happened. Most of the time, after waiting, the desire disappeared completely. What felt important before no longer mattered, and that showed me something. It was never a real need. It was just a temporary feeling, and feelings are not always reliable. This habit protected me, quietly, without effort, without struggle, because instead of fighting my impulses, I gave them time. Time to fade, time to settle, time to reveal the truth. And when something still felt important, after waiting, then I made the decision, calmly, clearly, without pressure. And those decisions were almost always better, stronger, more aligned with my real needs. This habit also changed something deeper. It made me more patient, not only with money, but with life. I stopped rushing, stopped reacting, stopped feeling like I had to decide immediately. Because most things are not urgent, they just feel urgent. And that difference is powerful, very powerful. Again, no one sees this habit, no one notices when you wait. There is no reward, no recognition, but inside, you are building control, real control, the kind that protects you from unnecessary mistakes. If you want to try this, start with something small. The next time you want to buy something, pause. Tell yourself, I will decide tomorrow. That's all. No pressure, no restriction, just a pause. And then see what happens. You might be surprised how many things are not as important as they first seem. In the next part, I will share the fourth silent habit, a habit that helped me grow without chasing more, without stress, and without losing control. The fourth habit is quiet in a different way. It is not about stopping, not about waiting, not about controlling. It is about growing slowly, intentionally, without pressure. The habit is this: improving your value without needing immediate results. For many years, I only focused on one thing: income. How can I earn more? How can I increase my salary? How can I make more money quickly? And that thinking created pressure because when results did not come fast, I felt frustrated, impatient, even discouraged. So sometimes I stopped trying or I looked for shortcuts, faster ways, easier ways. But those ways rarely worked. And when they failed, I felt worse. Then one day, I changed the way I think, and not about money, but about value. Instead of asking, how can I earn more now? I asked, how can I become more valuable over time? That question changed everything because value is something you build, not something you chase. And building takes time, quiet time, invisible time, time when no one sees your effort, time when there is no reward, no result, no recognition, just practice, learning, improving, little by little. At first, it feels slow, too slow, like nothing is happening, but something is happening. Inside, skills are growing, understanding is deepening, confidence is forming, and one day, those quiet improvements start to show, not suddenly, but naturally. Opportunities appear, conversations change, people see your value, not because you say it, but because it is real. This habit removed pressure from my life because I stopped chasing results every day. I focused on progress instead. Small progress, daily progress, even when no one noticed. And over time, that progress became strength, real strength. Financial strength. Because when you become more valuable, money follows. Not immediately, but naturally. And more importantly, it becomes stable, not temporary, not dependent on luck, but built on something real. The fifth habit is the quietest of all. It is not something you do, it is something you choose, a mindset, a way of living. And it is this: not comparing your life to others. This is difficult, very difficult, because today we see everything: other people's success, other people's lifestyle, other people's progress, and it is easy to feel behind, to feel not enough, to feel like you should do more, earn more, have more. But that thinking creates noise, loud noise, and noise leads to bad decisions. Spending to impress, working without direction, chasing things that don't matter. I lived like that before, and it made me tired, not physically, but mentally. So I made a quiet decision. I stopped looking sideways. I focused on my own path, my own pace, my own life. And something changed. I felt calmer, clearer, more in control, because I was no longer reacting, no longer comparing, no longer chasing, just building, quietly, step by step. And that is the real lesson. Financial strength is not loud. It is not fast. It is not something you show. It is something you build silently, through small habits, through daily choices, through patience. And if you are listening right now, you don't need to change everything. You don't need a big plan. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin one habit, one small change, one quiet decision, and then continue slowly, calmly, consistently, because that is how real strength is built. If this story helped you feel more calm, more clear, or more focused, then stay with this journey. Take your time, listen again, and keep growing. If you want more slow English listening stories with real life lessons, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and come back for the next story.